Hey guys, I have a really interesting project that I'm working on today and I want to take you along the ride. Basically, I had received an Etsy request about a couple of weeks ago asking if I could turn an Oilers jersey into a puffer jacket. I think this whole thing stemmed from Taylor Swift with the Chiefs jacket, and that went super viral. And then this girl, Ryan, created this Pittsburgh Penguins one, which also went viral. So I got a random DM about this based on a puffer that I had created, nothing sports related. So basically she had sent me this request and asked if I'm up for the challenge. And of course, my personality is I'm always up for a challenge, especially a creative one. So she sent me the jersey in the mail. It is an Oilers jersey, McDavid jersey, extra large. No pressure. Let's do this. So, first thing we're gonna wanna do, cut off the tag because it is a brand new jersey. Yep. And the next thing I think I'm gonna do is what I just learned about is cut off these fighting straps. Okay, so I'm gonna get started ripping this fighting strap off. So let's go. So what I'm using here is just a Singer seam ripper, but you can really use any seam ripper, and I love these little clippy scissors that came with my bigger scissors I got on Amazon. And so I'm just going to work my way through this, cut all the seams, and pull this loose. Okay, next what I think I'm going to do is simply seam rip the sides of the jersey. Let me turn it. Around here and under the armhole here and behind, basically detach the front pieces from the arms. Okay, so if you have an official NHL jersey, you're going to notice you have this little metal patch in the front that is really difficult to remove. So what I've found is using a hair dryer to melt the glue really helps this get off with a little bit more ease. Okay, so basically what I've done so far is I've completely scrapped the pattern that I wanted to use because I realized it doesn't fit on the jersey whatsoever. So what I was doing is creating my own pattern out of sort of this scrap fabric that I had, and basically I sewed it all together to see how the fit would be, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I think I'm going to go with my homemade pattern rather than the one that I had purchased, just because it fits way better on the jersey, and I think this is gonna work a lot better. So here I am wearing my test jacket, and now I'm gonna tackle the real thing and start cutting up the actual Oilers jersey. But before we cut up the actual jersey, I'm going to prepare the lining. So here I'm taking my bodice pieces, cutting them out. Here's the arm piece. Basically, when you print out your pattern that you can download below, just place your pattern pieces on your lining material and simply cut out the pieces required. the long-awaited time has come, is when I'm actually going to lay my pattern pieces onto the jersey, and we're gonna start pinning and then cutting. I'm gonna start with the sleeves and then see how much fabric I have left to work with for the bodice pieces. So here I am taking my time to pin the pattern piece to the jersey material. Don't forget that they are the same size for the lining as the jersey pieces that you'll need. So once you have your lining pieces cut out, you can feel free to use those as pattern pieces. I like to do that because sometimes it's a little easier to work with than pinning paper. So I would recommend to do that for sure. And don't forget to iron as you go. You're going to want to make sure everything is nice and flat. So here I'm just removing the white collar so I can maximize the amount of orange material that I have. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut off the other side and line everything up so it's nice and flat. And I am going to cut out my jersey from here. So if you pay close attention here, you can see I'm going to cut out the bottom of the jersey, and this is going to be the piece that we're going to use for our outside collar. Then I'm going to go ahead and trim the rest of the jersey material, and this is going to be for the back of the jacket. Next, we're going to want to line up our pattern pieces for the front of the jacket, making sure that they are perfectly lined up so that when we do our zipper at the end, they will zip up in perfect alignment on both sides. And this was the most stressful part, was cutting directly down the center of the logo. I had to do it very slowly and precisely to not mess this up. Then I took a soldering iron and I melted the edges to make sure it wouldn't fray. This was also a pretty stressful part, but also kind of fun. So here I'm cutting out my batting pieces. You're gonna want enough batting to be the third layer on all of your pieces on your jacket. So you can either choose to double layer the batting or a single layer. It's really up to you and how much puff that you desire. So as you can see, I've done 2 layers here. I just wanted to create a little more thickness and structure to the jacket, so that's what I'm going with for this one. So where we're at right now is I've cut out the pattern pieces for both the lining and the exterior of the jacket, and I've started to cut out the batting material as well. So the little fluffies, and I'm starting to put the pieces together so that I can start quilting. So this is a sleeve, for example. I basically just traced the same amount of material for the batting and I layered it with the fleece material and then the jersey on top. Basically, you put the fleece material there so that you don't get any fluffies poking through, because the jersey is a material that has lots of breathable holes in it, but we don't want those fluffies poking through those little holes. So that's gonna give it a nicer finish and is also gonna create some warmth for the jacket, which is great. Great, I'm gonna get quilting. Okay, so first I'm ironing out my pieces to make sure they are nice and flat for when we do our quilting lines. We want everything to line up properly, so it's important we take the time to iron out our jersey material. Next, you're going to want to pin your 3 layers together, and if you have any excess that is hanging over the edge, you can straighten out all the edges. All right, now what I'm going to do is, before I even pin this down, I wanted to add my little logo to the lining right in the back collar area, because this is the point that it's going to be the easiest to sew it on just a single layer. So I made the mistake in my last project, so I know in this project I want to do it before I do any type of sewing, so I'm going to go do that now. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, now that my logo is attached, I will cut out the lining piece with the thinner batting material. Let me just show you. So I got the thinner batting here. We got the logo on the top, very exciting. And now I'm just gonna cut out, this is the back lining piece, and then I'm going to do the sides and then the sleeves as well. So let's go. So again, this is just a preference thing, but I have chosen to do a lighter weight batting for the lining pieces. So I've just chosen this thin batting. It's just a quilting batting that I got on Amazon. And I'm going to use it for all of my lining pieces. So if you would like to do the same, you can, or you can use the thicker batting or none at all. It's really up to you. So here I'm cutting out my 2 arm pieces, making sure to pin and clip them down before I cut them out. All right, here is where I'm working on the collar. I'm gonna do the flannel on the inside, and I'm gonna do the jersey material on the outside. This will be the same material that I cut out from the bottom of the jersey. Once you've ironed out your pieces, you can take some seamstress tape, so this really thin tape that you can find on Amazon or wherever, your fabric store, but yeah, I would recommend Amazon's probably easiest. But basically I'm gonna place where I want the quilting lines to be, probably around 2 inches apart or something like that. Making sure we measure and everything is the same distance apart. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm doing the other side of the jacket, and I'm using a ruler to make sure that they line up. So it's a good way to make sure that your quilting lines line up exactly with the other side. All right, now it's time to hit the sewing machine. I am basically just following along my lines that I have taped in order to make sure I have really clean, straight quilting lines. And don't forget to backstitch at the beginning and the end to secure the lines. So we're going to want to do this same process with the sleeves, making sure they're the same distance as you've chosen for the main part of the jacket. Okay, and for the bottom of my sleeve, it is a big orange patch, so I have changed the thread to orange to be a little bit more seamless. So here what I'm doing is I'm cutting off some excess material on the outside. I want to make sure my 3 layers are going to be completely even on all the sides. So once you've done your quilting lines, you're going to want to take some time to make sure your jacket is fitting as desired. And the best way to do this is to simply pin or clip your pieces together and then try it on and see how it fits. So here I'm placing my inner pocket on the left front side of our lining piece. Make sure to only sew 3 sides here. Okay, so what I've done here is I have the outer layer of my collar, which has the jersey material. I have my fleece layer, and then I have the thicker batting material. And then for the inside of the collar, I have the thicker batting material, as well as my flannel layer. And then for my welt pockets, so the outside of my pockets, I have my jersey material, my flannel layer, and then the thinner batting material. And then for the inside of the welt pocket entrance, it's going to be like this. I just have the flannel and then the thinner batting. And then I did that twice, and I'm going to start creating the pocket on this layer here. So basically what I'm doing now is I am sewing the batting material to the lining, which is the blue fleece that I'm using. So I'm just going around all the edges, and I'm doing that for all of the lining pieces. So next we're going to want to pin shoulder to shoulder, right sides together for our lining piece. So you can go ahead and do that now. So now I'm going to sew the arms on. So as you can see here, I've actually decided not to add the extra batting material for the lining on the arms, as I wanted to have as much mobility as possible in the arm area. But again, this is just a preference thing, and you can do it however you desire. Next, I'm going to sew the rest of the lining jacket together, making sure to pin first so that everything lines up nice and straight. So here I'm just attaching my collar, the batting, to the lining piece as well as the outer collar piece, just making sure those are all attached and ready to go. And here I'm doing the exact same process with the welts, and I'm going to do that for all 4 pieces. So again, we have 2 in the flannel and 2 in the jersey material. And once that is done, we can sew 3 sides together, attaching the flannel with the jersey material facing each other, right sides touching, and then sew 3 sides together, and then we're going to flip it inside out once we've done that. And next, once we've trimmed off the excess fabric, making sure not to get into any seams, we can sew the final side on both pieces. So now you're going to have 2 welts ready to sew onto your jacket. And here you can see that I've pinned where the location is for the pocket, and I recommend you do the same. And make sure you pay attention here to the direction of your welt pocket. That's going to be extremely important. So we're going to sew it in place in alignment with the pins that we've already placed to make sure it is perfectly lined up. And if you have a stronger needle, a denim needle, you might want to use that now to get over some of this thicker fabric here. So I want you to pay close attention to how you are placing your pockets, making sure they are going the right way. So you want your pockets to have more room for your hands, so you want the longer part of the blob shape to be facing towards the bottom of the jacket. So we're going to line that up with the seam about 1/2 inch away, and we can sew one side down, and then the other side should be about 1/2 inch away from that seam. Now that we have both sides of the pocket sewn on, we can go ahead, take some scissors and poke a hole in between the 2 pocket sides, and we're going to want to create a really thin slit from the top of your pocket to the bottom, making sure not to go over or under. So take your time with this part. Next, you can go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. Again, paying attention to the direction of the welt, making sure the flannel side is faced out when you sew, and the raw edge is faced towards the arms. Now we can go ahead and push our pocket pieces through. Next, we're going to want to iron that welt down and then stitch a really clean stitch on the outside so that it will sit flat. Next, we're going to want to stitch our pockets together. So take your time going along the edge and attaching both sides together. Next, we're going to want to take the sides of the welt and secure those down with some really clean stitches here. Next, I'm going to take all of my outside pieces and secure the edges, attaching all 3 layers together and doing this for every piece. Okay, now that I have all of my pieces completely sewn around the edges, I'm going to start putting the outer layer together. And I'm gonna start with the shoulder pieces and making sure right sides together. I'm gonna pin and then sew like this. So when pinning these thicker pieces together, I recommend using these clips. Again, I got these on Amazon. They're pretty affordable. So here I am attaching the shoulder pieces together. So a little tip, if your needle is struggling to go through, sometimes I just turn the hand wheel here and push it through instead of using my foot pedal, and that kind of helps. Another thing that helps is to have either a denim needle or a leather needle or another type of heavy duty needle if you're starting to work with a little bit thicker materials. Now I'm gonna put in the collar. Right sides together. Starting here. And now, as you can see, I am sewing on the collar. So now I am going to sew the rest of the outer jacket together. First, placing the edge to edge and making sure it lines up correctly and it all makes sense. Then you're going to flip it inside out so you can sew right along the edge. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing with my lining. So I'm just going to finish up those edges before I bring them together. Here I'm sewing on the collar for the lining and making sure that everything looks good. And before we sew on our zipper, I highly recommend switching to a zipper foot. This is going to help you a lot to get in nice and closely to your zipper edge so that you can have a really, really secure zipper and sew it with a lot more ease. So next we're going to want to attach both collars right sides facing, and we're going to want to sew along that edge. And we can do the same thing with the bottom of the jacket. So once you've attached your collar pieces together, attach the bottom as well. And after you have both the collar and the bottom pieces attached, you're going to want to do your sleeves. So pay close attention to the direction that I am pinning this. This is going to be very important to make sure that your sleeve is attached the correct way. Okay, time to get excited. This is the very last step of the project. It is time to attach the lining to the zipper. And for this specific jersey, I would recommend to do a hand stitch. I'm doing an invisible stitch here. You can always Google how to do an invisible hand stitch. Highly recommend that. It produces a much cleaner result. This is the final jacket. I'm super pleased with it. It's got a really sturdy zipper that goes down the middle. It has fleece-lined pockets, a pocket on the inside for your cell phone. I added my cute little label here, and from the back, looks like this. And now I will try it on. This is it. So thanks so much for following along this journey with me. I had an absolute blast making this jacket, and I can't wait to see what you create as well. If you make your final piece and you would like to share it with me, feel free to hashtag MaddieRayArt, and I'll be sure to share your creations.